fly fishing definitely gets into your blood. When you're on a river like the North Umpqua, hours slip by and they seem like seconds. You don't even realize where the time has gone, whether you're catching fish or not.
There's a whole culture, basically, of people who fish the North Umpqua in a semi-religious fashion, and I'm one of them.
This is a beautiful river, and I could easily spend the rest of my life on it and still have things to learn.
I'm John Kober. I'm the Executive Director of Pacific Rivers. Key watershed in the Northwest Forest Plan is a special area that either provides clean drinking water to a community and or is really important to wild salmon and steelhead. Steamboat Creek meets both of those criteria. For summer steelhead, there's just not a more important tributary that I can think of, to the North Umpqua for sure, but to any river.
My name is Jeff Dose. I'm Vice President of the Steamboaters. I have a great interest in the resources we have here, our fish and water, and continue to work towards it. Thermal refuges are rare, unique stretches of rivers or streams that have water temperatures that cold water fish need to survive throughout the hottest part of the summer. Once I became a professional working here, I really came to understand how important places like Steamboat Creek are. There's about 55 miles of high-quality spawning and rearing habitat up there.
I'm Mike Harrelson, Vice Chairman of the Oregon Chapter of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. This particular piece of legislation will not only protect that water for those fish, this will protect 104,000 acres of Forest Service land that's currently public land and make sure it stays accessible for outdoor recreation, hunting, and fishing for decades to come. That area is phenomenal. The diversity down there of white-tailed deer, black-tailed deer, bears, elk, aside from the phenomenal fishing in the Umpqua and up to the Steamboat Creek area, it's just amazing. It's a jewel of the I-5 corridor in Oregon.
The history of the North Umpqua started with Frank Moore building the Steamboat Inn.
The North Umpqua, if you're a steelhead fisherman, it's on your bucket list. We get guests from all over the world because they know about the steelhead of the North Umpqua. I'm Pat Lee, and I'm the managing partner at Steamboat Inn, along with Jim and Sharon Van Loner, my two business partners. I was one of the first women to serve on the board of Oregon Trout years ago, and I was a multi-year board member for the North Umpqua Foundation. Douglas County at one time was called the timber capital of the nation, and at that time people were just thinking about making a living, and one of the ways to do that is all the old growth that's up the North Umpqua.
It was very difficult to try to convince the community of Douglas County and Roseburg that we had resources other than timber, because it was an economic driver, big time.
Frank got connected with a couple filmmakers, made the now pretty famous Pass Creek video.
Just above Steamboat, the place where Zane Grey had his camp, a tributary called Steamboat Creek joins the North Fork. That's where the fish come from.
And that video, they took it back to Washington, D.C. They flew it everywhere across the country, showing decision makers what was happening in Oregon. And he, on some levels, single-handedly changed public land forest policy based on that one video back in the early 1970s.
In midsummer, the steelhead begin to move into the protected waters of Steamboat Creek to gather and rest in the deep pools. And in the winter, in the gravel beds of the rain-swollen creek and its tributary streams, more than half of the Umpqua's steelhead population is spawned.
That's part of what makes that place that magic, to have that many fish returning to that one spot. And that's why it's so imperative to protect that for generations to come.
It wasn't until more people discovered the river, realized what a jewel it was, that you see people starting to step in to try to preserve it.
My name is Lee Spencer, And what I do here is I protect the fish. This pool that I sit at used to get terribly poached, probably spanning the last 100 years, but the poaching really didn't get serious from what I understand until they opened this part of the basin up to logging.
We have a local group now that's retired foresters and industry professionals and environmentalists that are working together to say, hey, we're all in this together.
It's just a remarkable little group that's had an amazing track record of success in influencing big issues that affect how our fish and our rivers are going to be managed in the future. So I'm proud to be involved in it.
All of us who love the river are lucky that Frank and Jeannie chose this place to live.
You know, he's Frank. He's been on the river forever. He put the North Umpqua River on the national stage where it isn't just fishermen that now know about it.
I cannot think of a more deserving individual to have it named after than Frank Moore.
His accomplishments as the commissioner of ODF&W had a great storied career there, and prior to that he's a decorated combat veteran of World War II, survived the invasion of Normandy. He's had one heck of a life. And aside from being an iconic fly fisherman and steelheader here in the Pacific Northwest.
Anybody who appreciates a person who serves their country like Frank has, appreciates a wild place and wild fish, should support this legislation by contacting your congressman or your senator and encouraging them to get this done.
Congress says, "Thou shalt not." That puts the old hammer down, boy, and that's why it would be a great thing. You know, it's kind of overwhelming to think that they're designated as Frank Moore Wild Steelhead Sanctuary, because they wouldn't have to put my name on it, but just in Congress just say do it, and that would please me no end. It doesn't have to have my name tacked onto it, but main thing is to protect those beautiful fish.